welcome back to PR Reefs. My name is Riley. So we thought we'd do a little bit of a question and answer for you guys, because some people have a lot of questions when they first start up a reef tank, and also just so you guys can get to know me a little bit. So my camera guy is going to be asking some questions, and I'll do my best to answer them.
Okay, right, well, the first question we keep being asked is, what is your basic setup?
A basic setup would be a fish tank, a filtration system, some rock, some sand, and preferably a light. You don't really need anything spectacular. You don't need half the stuff that a shop will force on you, like a sump or a specially designed marine tank. You can use any fish tank, and that's one thing that people do get a bit confused on.
And does size matter?
I really hope that you were talking about fish tanks.
Yeah, I kind of put that wrong. Does the size of tank matter?
The size of tank doesn't matter, but just remember, if you go too small, the water parameters, if they go downhill, they will go downhill quick. Whereas a bigger tank, it's going to take a bit longer for them kind of things to happen. But with a smaller tank, it's going to be a quicker fix, so you can do a 50% water change and it'll solve a lot of your problems. Whereas a bigger tank, to do a 50% water change is going to be a bit more difficult. But generally, it's up to you guys. What space you've got, what kind of thing you want to keep. You know, obviously you're not going to put a gigantic tang in a tank this sized. But basically it just comes down to what you guys want to keep and what your budget is, and yeah, go from there. I will say though, if you go small, it's a very addictive hobby, so you will probably upsize down the line, but just bear that in mind, you know, whether it's better just to go for that bigger tank that you will want down the line, or if you want to stay small and just see how you get on.
Okay, leading on to the tank crashing quicker, there's a lot of talk about test kits.
Yeah, I mean, just to really start off with, API Saltwater does a master kit. That will take care of the most basic kind of things that you're going to be looking at. If you're not keeping SPS or the LPS corals, then really you should be absolutely fine. You're not going to need to dose, so you're not going to need to check your calcium, alkalinity or anything like that. But your API saltwater master kit should take care of that all for you.
Right, and do you need to have practically a degree in science to understand all the numbers, figures, everything else that they'll be showing?
To be honest, it's something that I felt I might have needed when I started doing marine tanks, especially when you go to a fish shop and they just bombard you with so much information and all of a sudden you feel very overwhelmed. But I don't have a degree, and once I kind of watched some of the YouTube videos, especially Reef Dork and BRS TV, things like that, you know, it actually was a lot simpler than what it actually needed to be. And to be honest, I haven't had a degree, I haven't had any problems, so yeah, I don't think you need a degree.
Okay, can you make your own salt, or do you have to buy it from a shop?
Oh gosh, no, you don't have to buy it from a shop, not at all, and you can make your own. But for just starting off with, it's probably better to buy it from a shop if you're just starting. The reason being is then you know that the water's okay. Once you want to go a bit bigger on the tank front, then yeah, you know, make your own salt. It makes it a lot easier, like cost-wise, it's cheaper.
What's the initial outlay for all that though?
You're going to need an RO unit.
Which is?
Basically, it's where you turn tap water into RO water, which is having all the chemicals removed. So that way you know exactly what you're putting into the tank, because tap water has a lot of chemicals that they use to clean it. So it can also cause a lot of algae problems and things like that. Hang on. But basically, you should be absolutely fine. It's fairly simple and straightforward. You set up your RO unit, follow the instructions, let the water run through, use that water to mix up the salt. The instructions are usually on the bucket.
Okay, as you say you're kind of making this on a budget, do you have to buy a brand new RO unit, or can you buy one second hand?
You can buy a second-hand RO unit, that's absolutely no problem, but I would recommend changing the filters out inside of the RO unit, just so you know exactly what kind of filtration system you're running, and just to obviously make sure that you replace the filters in there regularly.
Okay. One other question that did come up was, can you use kind of like tropical ornaments or freshwater ornaments in a saltwater tank?
You can, but it's not advised because they can leak a lot of chemical toxins. And to be perfectly honest with you, if you're going for a marine tank, you're going to want it to look more like a marine tank. You're not going to want a dragon ornament sitting in the middle of underwater sea. But generally, I would stick to the natural rock because you know exactly what you're kind of putting in your tank, and it's more designed for that. Whereas the salt is more corrosive, so it has a different effect on fish tank ornaments than what fresh water does.
Okay. Talking about filtration, do you need a sump or can you use a canister? Because there's been a lot of ups and downs, different opinions. What is your opinion on that?
Ooh, I mean, I've got a sump tank,
what?
the sump tank which is here, but I've also got a canister filter on the tank, the big 4-foot simple tank. And to be honest, I don't think you need to actually have a sump. As long as you clean out your canister filter regularly with RO water, but don't obviously wash off all of the bacteria that's built up in there. So you want to keep some of the poop in there.
What about the seals? Won't they corrode?
No, I haven't had that problem yet. I haven't heard of anyone who has had that problem, but by all means, if you guys have ever had a problem with a canister filter, do leave comments down below, because you never know. You know, you never know everything in this hobby, and it's always good to learn some new things.
What about the lighting? Because there's a lot of talk going on about PARs and all this sort of thing, which is above a lot of people's kind of knowledge on what that means, what that would do to the tank or anything else.
On that, it kind of comes down to a subdivide question. What kind of corals do you want to keep?
Would you like to explain a bit more?
Well, I mean, if you're looking at having a softy tank, so I mean, this is mainly softy right now because I haven't added any LPS or SPS corals in here. You can keep these in their only light. They're not really too fast. A basic reef tank where you've just got rock and fish or softies, you're absolutely fine. You can use any light. But once you kind of want in the SPS corals, the LPS corals, you're going to need a better light. So you're going to want ones that, you know, have a little bit more of the purples, the reds in there, because it'll help show up the corals a little bit more. And you want to par. It's one of those kind of things where people get into their head, I think, about what par you have to have Pacific corals at. I think, yes, it's good to know what par are at different levels, but do you need to keep monitoring it? No. You know, a lot of fish shops, I know our local fish shop actually rents out a par meter. So if you're really wanting to get into that SPS and LPS coral, you know, you can rent them and you can just test them out, see how you get on and go from there. But generally, I haven't had a problem with this light up here. And to be perfectly honest with you, that light only costs 70 quid. I'm probably going to let down the line buy an AI top of the range marine light just to see what the differences are, which I'll be doing a video on, just so you know from what I look at and what my perspective is on generally, is it worth it? Is the AI light worth spending 250 odd pounds compared to a light that's 60 pounds? That we'll have to wait and see. I don't know everything, but we will see.
Okay. Another question I was asked outside was, can you keep corals and fish, or is it corals or fish?
You can keep both. Generally, a lot of people like the Fowler tank, but it doesn't have as much colour. But it's a good, simple starter off point.
And can you explain a Fowler?
Basically, a Fowler tank is where you keep fish and rock only. One thing I did learn coming over from being a freshwater tank keeper to a saltwater is a lot of people in freshwater start with putting the plants in, putting the rocks in, making it look pretty, and then adding the fish. Whereas in marine keeping, you tend to add the fish first after the rock, and then you build on from there. So you can then add your corals and what you kind of like. But generally, I do think that, you know, you can keep them together. There's no problems on that. But obviously the issue you more have is different fish like different fish and others don't, and you've just kind of got to make sure you get the fish it gets along.
Right. What about the corals? Will they eat the corals?
Some fish nip corals. Some fish aren't coral safe. Some fish are. It's just something I'm hoping as a good aquatics person that and you're really looking into it. When you look at the care needs of what fish you're planning to get.
So research is the key.
Research definitely is key, and that's one thing. Even just before setting up a reef tank, putting that research in to make sure that what you want to do is actually going to be feasible in the setup that you want. I mean, for my first tank didn't want anything massive, but I made sure that the fish are below a certain size when maximum grown. Same as the 4-foot tank downstairs, because it's only a 4 foot by 1.5 foot. I can't keep some of the bigger tanks that I'd want to, but anything really up to 8 or 10 inches, 10 inches being the maximum that I would keep in there, I generally wouldn't go any bigger.
Okay.
So,
is it a male-only hobby, or can anyone? Because a lot of the YouTube videos are all done by male reps, or people who are in the hobby are always male.
yeah.
So does that mean it's a male-only?
No. Reef keeping can be for anyone, any gender, any age. Reef keeping is just a great little hobby. For some reason, a lot of YouTubers are male who talk about these, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do videos, just so people could see that it's not just a male-dominated hobby.
Okay. Another question is it expensive to run?
Is it expensive to run? In what aspect?
The upkeep, the buying of different parts, the maintaining of the tanks.
I think it comes down to how complicated you want to make it. If you want a 10-foot fish tank with all the top of the range things, then yeah, it's going to be expensive. But it doesn't have to be. You can do simple tanks on a budget. Like the 2 videos I've uploaded are the second-hand reef tank, which is the cube. And then I've done a simple 4-foot tank video. So people can see that you can get second-hand tanks, but just to make sure you check the seals to make sure that they're good. You can do it on a budget. You don't have to spend lots and lots of money on lighting, filtration, like skimmers. You don't have to do all of that for a simple small tank. But as you get bigger and the more complicated you want to make it, the more it will cost.
You were saying about people like Reef Talk and AI and some other companies.
Yeah.
Are you sponsored by these people, or is it all out of your own pocket?
Well, Reef Talk is a YouTuber. So, I mean, if he wants to give me money, I mean, feel free. But I just don't think he's that kind of person who's just going to go, hey, take some of my money. But no, generally, I'm not sponsored by any of these guys. I would love some sponsors down the line because, I want to do bigger tanks. I also want to do a brand new tank, and just to show that it can be done like from a brand new standpoint. But generally, I'm not sponsored by anyone. What you see and getting reviews on product wise is genuine, to whether I feel it's worth it or not. And yeah, I'm not sponsored by anyone. But I would like to be sponsored because the amount of tanks that I'm trying to set up and the videos I'm trying to start doing, they're going to start costing money, especially when I want to travel around the UK, going to different fish shops and seeing some of the setups, what kind of fish they've got, just to travel around a little bit and show everyone out there what can be done.
What's your favourite fish?
Oh, I mean, I'm a big fan of the Valentini puffer. I'm not going to lie on that. But I do have a big softie for the copper-bound butterfly fish. That yes, there are a lot of rumours that they are hard to feed, but if you get them feeding, they're a lovely fish. So yeah, I'd probably say a copper-bound butterfly.
How long have you been in the hobby?
I've been keeping fish since I was 4 years old.
What marine fish?
Not marine fish. I started with freshwater up until about 3 years ago. Then I wanted to do something a bit different, and I wanted a bit of a challenge. So I went to my local fish. Well, I went to a local fish shop. It's not my most local, and I started asking questions, and I actually got chipped off. I got chipped off from doing saltwater tanks because they made it sound so complicated. But I bought another I bought another freshwater setup, and I absolutely regretted it. So I ended up stripping it right back down and just doing a very basic marine tank using YouTube video starts. And Reef Dog, yeah, his simple setup tank was what inspired me. So I set one of those up and wanted to see if I could keep the fish alive for a little while. Managed to keep the fish alive, and I just kind of built on from there.
What was your first fish
My gosh.
in the marine class?
Oh, in a marine. My first fish was a pair of clowns. But if we talk about freshwater, it was an Oriander goldfish that my parents had bought for me because I'd been crazing for a pet. And the tank they bought was too small for it, and it outgrew the tank very quickly. But that was my first kind of experience with fish.
Do you enjoy doing the hobby?
Do I enjoy it?
Both the marine and obviously the freshwater and all that.
Freshwater I do enjoy doing, but I kind of got a bit bored of it, so I've kind of dismantled all the freshwater tanks that I had and I'm switching over to marine. But generally I do like freshwater. I probably will have a freshwater tank again down the line. But marine fish, I like it because it's a new challenge. You kind of keep learning with it. You know, it's like the other day when I was smashing up rock, you know, I found a bristle starfish, and to see one that was so tiny, it was amazing. And I'm always constantly learning. It's, you know, I'll probably watch this video a few years down the line and go, I wish I known that now, and you know, if only I knew this, and I could have put that in the video. So I will probably do another video like this in a few years' time with even more information. So yeah.
So what type of fish is available or would be suitable for a hobbyist?
That's a very big question. Could you simplify that a bit?
What's the first sort of beginner fish to try out and see if it's suitable for the person or anything like that?
You talking marine, tropical?
Marine.
Marine, I would stick with a pair of clowns. You don't need to go extortionately expensive. You don't need to go for some of these designer clowns, like my white platinum that's somewhere in that tank. But just a classic clown like the one over here. You know, they cost about £16 at the moment. That probably will change with our new government. But just generally, you know, start with a pair of clowns. They're very, very hardy. If something goes wrong with your clowns, you know that something is majorly wrong. But generally they can take a newbie's beginner's mistakes and bounce back with no problems.
And a very sad question is, how do you feel if a fish dies?
Gutted. I feel gutted. I feel like I should have known better to do something or how to do something to save it. But you can't save every fish. You're going to make mistakes, you know, and yeah, you know, it's just a learning curve. But yeah, I don't go out and buy a new fish immediately to replace that of the same type.
Okay. That's all the questions I've got. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, other than just, you know, to like and subscribe. You know, the more subscribers we get, the more YouTube will actually advertise this channel. And basically, you know, it helps us. But, you know, the more likes and subscribers we get, the more crazy videos that we can do. Including our camera guy has actually volunteered to get a tattoo if we get to 100 subscribers. So that's a bit of an incentive because I will video that. But basically, you know, just enjoy the hobby. You know, if you're worried or nervous about starting a marine tank, it's not as scary as it sounds when you go to a fish shop. You know, give it a go. You know, do comment as well down below if you've got any questions that you want answers to. I'll do my best to answer them for you, and if not, I will find somebody who has the answer for you. But generally this is a nice friendly channel, and I just look forward to actually hearing about some of your guys' experiences as well. So yeah, I mean, please do also share these videos so people can see that, you know, what you're thinking about doing, and it also might encourage others. So thank you for asking all these nice questions. And yeah, please do comment below any questions that you might have, and please, as I said, just subscribe, like this video. It means a lot to us, and we know that we're doing the right kind of videos that you like to see. So thank you everyone for watching.